Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friends of the Force, a Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Brad.
And I'm your host, Sarah.
And today on the show, we are once again talking about Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu. It's been a couple of weeks since the movie has been out. Again, the first Star Wars movie in 7 years, so definitely a lot of eyes on this one. You and I have both had a chance to see the film for a second time, so we're going to talk a little bit about sort of the climate around the movie, you know, what the folks are saying, what the numbers are showing us, maybe telling us about movie-going behaviors at the moment, talking about things that we maybe took away from our second viewing as well, because you had a unique experience getting to see the director's commentary with Jon Favreau, which is exciting. So lots to go through today. But first up, before we dive into any of that, top of the show, really wanted to give a quick note here on the passing of Marcia Lucas, who unfortunately left us this past week or 2 weeks. And for those of you who may not be aware, Marcia Lucas, obviously the former wife of George Lucas and one of the most pivotal people to make Star Wars what it is. She is one of the 3 editors alongside Richard Chew and Paul Hirsch to take home an Academy Award for Best Editing on the original Star Wars. And she's the reason the trench run exists, taking it down from a 40,000 feet of dialogue footage and turning it into 10 minutes of snappy, exciting, thrilling action that just wowed movie-going audiences way back 50 years ago. And so it's just a moment to think about Marcia's impact on Star Wars, and you know, it really wouldn't be what it is today without her. The women of Star Wars were there from the very beginning.
Yeah, integral to making Star Wars happen. So sending much love to the Star Wars family and community, and as we think about Marcia Lucas's contributions and to her loved ones. But yeah, what an incredible contribution to Star Wars, and grateful that she was there, you know, to make suggestions, to make edits, to do the work to make this movie the way that it was. So
I don't know, every time I think about the trench run, like, that is just some of the best Star Wars, period.
Yeah, it's thrilling. It is kind of at its core, quintessentially Star Wars. So,
Well, anyways, that being said, again, R.I.P. to the GOAT. You are dearly missed. So, with that being said, let's move on to our main topic for today, which again is the Mandalorian and Grogu. So first up, I think it's important to talk about this, and I'll put the disclaimer out there, Sarah, and you can kind of add on. We are not box office pundits by any stretch of the imagination. We are not sitting there stewing over box office numbers. That is for, you know, executives and shareholders to care about. Like, at the end of the day, we love a movie we love or dislike a movie regardless of what the box office numbers say. Box office numbers should not dictate your enjoyment of a movie. It really does not matter. But I think the past couple of weeks in particular have been very, very, very interesting to look at box office numbers and think about the things that are taking a cultural hold of movie-going audiences through word of mouth, because there are some big news stories, like things that we can't look away from, and it's all inextricably tied to the box office and what it's telling us about what are people seeing in the theaters in the summer.
right. So let's jump into it. The answer to that is horror movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Horror movies are back on the menu. Let's go.
I am not the audience for these at all. So you're going to have to talk about the horror movies, because I think you've seen both of them. What is your takeaway from having seen Obsession and Backrooms? And what is your feeling as somebody who's seen all these movies and is around on the internet in the cultural conversation of all 3 of them? What are you making of this moment?
I think what I'm making of this moment is you have 2 indie, small budget movies dominating one of the biggest cultural IPs in the world, and one of the biggest cultural IPs that's having its first movie in 7 years.
Right.
And each of these movies is kind of tapping into this just really fascinating word of mouth of like, you got to go see this movie while it's in theaters. You got to see Obsession.
Mm-hmm.
Obsession had bigger second and third weekends than its first weekend, which is the first film to do that outside of the Christmas window since E.T.
Wow.
back in 1982.
Wow.
So it's hard to look away from that. Um, I loved Obsession. I thought Backrooms was pretty fun. We did a double feature, which
Ah.
was very interesting, and luckily I didn't have too many nightmares later that day. But I think both of these movies are a great testament to, again, just like small indie filmmaking, low budget filmmaking from two young directors. Like Kane Parsons, who directed The Backrooms, is 20 years old.
Right.
So it's incredible. And both of these directors had starts on YouTube, right? And so I think that's kind of speaking to a larger conversation around like entry points into filmmaking, right? Like I think 10 years ago, putting a film on YouTube was maybe more frowned upon, but now it's like, hey, let me get my work out there on
Yeah.
YouTube, gain a following. And then both of these guys are bringing that YouTube following, and it's translating to people going to the theater to support their work because they have a fan base. And Backrooms is like kind of an IP, an online copy pasta IP or creepypasta IP.
I don't know this lore at all. This movie came out and I was like, everybody's like, oh my God, Backrooms. I was like, what is going on? Like there's a whole other world out there that I'm not in. But I think you can also probably add Markiplier, like maybe in a different little bit of a different context with how you're presenting the YouTube of it all, but maybe in a different context, because Markiplier is a YouTube personality who also came out with what it was called The Iron Lung
Yes. Yeah.
earlier this year, which is also a horror film, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Which is interesting because it seems like it's always a YouTuber to horror film pipeline that's happening right now.
Well, I think, maybe part of that is that horror is often made on a tighter budget, or can be made on a tighter budget than Star Wars can, or any of these films that need a lot of digital effects or a lot of set like a lot of set or a lot of people or all, and so you probably can make these smaller films. Then horror maybe as a genre just lends itself to practical stuff, and because I think part of the thing with horror, and I'm not a horror viewer, but like part of the thing in horror is like what you're not showing. Like what you're not showing is often scarier than what you're showing. And so there's you can probably cut back on the budget with the absence of the scary thing or the scary person at times,
Oh, yeah, totally. Obsession 2, I mean, the budget for that was $750,000.
It's crazy.
And after almost a month, it's made $224 million worldwide.
Wow.
That is wild.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just it's so cool to see these small movies just taking a hold of people, and the fact that
Right.
Obsession keeps having good weekends and people are like, I gotta see this thing while it's in theaters. And I'm so glad I got to see it. But like, listener, if you're wondering like, why the heck are they talking about horror movies? This is a Star Wars podcast. Well, like, again, it's the thing that first weekend, Mando definitely in that first place slot ahead of Obsession. And then in the second weekend for Mandalorian, the box office dropped 70%. And it was sitting in third place right behind Obsession and Backrooms. So it's just I don't know, it's so interesting to see Star Wars kind of in this position where, again, it's the first movie in 7 years, but I'm not quite sure like what the word of mouth is on The Mandalorian and Grogu, and does that 70% drop represent people who are saying, I'll just wait for it to be on Disney Plus in a couple of months. I don't need to see this, especially because it is a TV to movie experience. It's a TV show, essentially, right? So it's like, I'll just wait. It's a TV show. I'll just wait and I can watch it at home just like I would with a TV show. Are people saying that? Are fans not going back as much? I know there's a very, very loyal segment of fan who loves this movie and is seeing this movie, 5, 6, 7 times in theaters. And like, I love that for them. I'm happy for you. Go see every Star Wars movie as many times as your heart desires, right? Like I did that with Force Awakens and Rogue One and Last Jedi.
And we're the sort of fan that like has gone back a second time too, which is more than your average viewer, because we're Star Wars people and we talk on this podcast. We wanted to have this conversation. You went with your family, so like there's a segment of fan that I think will go a number of times. There's a segment of the fans that for this movie maybe will go a couple of times, and then it's like the segment of the general public that's like, I'll wait for Disney Plus. And then there's going to be a whole separate section of people, my parents in this case, like, who will say, oh, well, we don't really care about Star Wars, so we go see the movies fairly regularly, but I'm not going to go see a Star Wars movie. It's my mom. My dad less so, but my mom. I love her. To be clear, she's great, but she's just, as I said in the first episode, she's not going to buy into Rat of the Hutt. She's simply not.
Well, and that's the other thing too, and we talked about this on our review episode as well, is there's just not, like, Pedro Pascal is, you know, a force, a tour de force right now in Hollywood. He's in so many different projects. People love him. He is fantastic, right? But when he's behind a mask for most of the movie and you don't really get to see his face, and there's not many other based characters in this aside from Sigourney Weaver, like, Mando spends most of the movie behind a mask talking to CGI aliens.
Right.
And so it's like, is that enough to...
Or puppet aliens.
Puppets. Yeah, or puppet aliens.
Don't disrespect the puppet aliens.
But is that enough to get people to want to go to the theater? I mean, even Solo, right? Like, so right now, Mandalorian and Grogu is at about 290 million globally. It's about 100 million shy of Solo. Granted, it's going to be in theaters for a little longer still, so there's still some upside there. But even Solo, like, had a big cast of people. You had Woody Harrelson, you had Alden Ehrenreich, you had Donald Glover, Danny Newton, right? Like, you had a lot. Emilia Clarke.
Emilia Clarke, yeah.
You had a lot of good actors in that movie, and so that's exciting. And then the sequel trilogy had its fair share of acting chops as well, like even with the original cast. So,
Laura Dern.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of the drop. And again, like, this isn't to say like the box office is an indication of the quality of the film. That's not at all kind of what we're comparing here.
Also, it's like, I think it's like, well, it's made, $300 million.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
And I know I've seen a lot of incredible movies that didn't make a lot of money at the box office. So that's why ultimately, like, these things do not matter as viewers. Like, we should not care about them. But it's just really interesting to think about it in this instance, because it's the first Star Wars movie in 7 years, and because we're having these like two small budget indie horror films that are just like captivating audiences, and it's like the conversation online right now. It's the conversation in general IRL public life of like, right, wow, this movie is cuckoo bananas and you need to go see it. But like, right, I don't have that same energy around a Star Wars film, and it's just like a weird experience.
Which is weird for you, because you're a Star Wars person with a Star Wars podcast, especially, you are the prime target audience. Me too, but I'm not going to see the horror movie, so I'm not in like the whole conversation on that side. And I think also the part of this is like squares and rectangles, right? There's a section of the adult audience of Mandalorian and Grogu, the U's, the people who are big movie fans, big horror fans, etc., who will go see Backrooms and Obsession and all these other horror films that are coming out right now. And then there's a section of the horror audience that may go see a big blockbuster film like Star Wars, just because maybe they're really interested in the craft. Like, maybe they really love practical effects. Maybe they're just a movie going fan, and so they'll go the other way if they're primarily a horror fan. However, these are two different audiences. And I know there's been a lot of conversation about, oh, there's a 10-year-old in my Backrooms screening. Why are they here? Like, I've seen that conversation online a lot of like, wow, this audience is skewing very young, and this is like an R-rated movie. What's up with that? But the target audience for Mandalorian and Grogu is much more family friendly than the target audience for Backrooms and Obsession. Please don't take your 6-year-old to these movies. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Please don't take your 10-year-old to these movies probably either. So there's an interesting thing there, and like, it's not like it's Minions and Star Wars and whatever other family friendly kind of franchise or indie movie is out all right now. So there's definitely a difference in audience. Like, they're pulling maybe some different people, but a lot of the same people. So I find that curious too. But I also think that if you haven't been watching Mandalorian, the buy-in to a Star Wars film called The Mandalorian and Grogu might not feel worth it. It's like, oh, I need to go watch 3 seasons of TV in order to see this movie. You don't. But I understand that need, or like it's kind of like Marvel, you know? Once we got past the first set of movies with Infinity War, right? Or Infinity, yeah, was that it?
Yeah,
Is that the right
Infinity
one?
War, Endgame, yes.
Endgame, yeah. So
7 years ago, by the way.
but like once we got past that, that was like that whole thing started with Johnny Fav's Iron Man 2008, right? Like that was where it bookended. But once we got past that, I dropped off because I was like, wow, there's a lot of buy-in to keep watching these films because you have to watch the TV shows and they come back in the films, and like maybe I'll just go see a Spider-Man movie now.
Yeah, and then there was the pandemic. Then there was Jonathan Majors controversy, right? Where they were building a whole saga around Kang, and then next thing you know, now we got to remove him from the situation.
Right, which was the right move, to be clear.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
But I also just think that I lost interest. I felt that there were too many disparate threads that I needed to catch up on in order to feel like I was in the know about the thing that I was going to pay money to see. And that felt like a big lift when I had other things to do. And so I think that might be at play here. Because I told my friend, she was like, oh, should I go see this? This is the friend who's only seen Andor. And I was like, well, you could, but it's not Andor. This is a friend who has family members that are very interested in Star Wars, but like only has seen Andor, really loves Andor, but hasn't seen any other Star Wars yet. I'm like, well, I don't know if I'd recommend Mandalorian and Grogu to that particular kind of casual fan. Maybe I go like, okay, let's try The Acolyte, or let's try an animated show, or let's try watching the saga and see how you feel, before I would throw that person into Mandoverse. So I think that might be at play here too. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you bring up Marvel, because when you think about Doomsday and even the last couple of Marvel films,
is Doomsday upcoming?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we have Spider-Man Brand New Day in just over a month, which I'm super jazzed about. I always love the Spider-Man films. You're so right. Those ones are always
fun.
Most consistent, most fun. Tom Holland and Zendaya. Love you guys. Great. And Jacob Batalon as well. Great.
Yes.
Great stuff.
Yes. He's great too.
But Doomsday, and even just the last couple of Marvel films, it really feels like Marvel went through a phase of, again, like TV show after TV show after TV show, and then the movies increasingly became disconnected from what was happening in the TV shows, right? Like we haven't seen, we had the Miss Marvel movie, but then like we haven't seen Miss Marvel since her TV show and since the movie. So it's like, well, what's going on with Miss Marvel? And is she going to be in Doomsday? Right? So are they trying to create Doomsday as sort of this like thing where it features a lot of characters who you would only see in the movie, but not ones that you would see in TV shows? Because they're like, we don't want you to feel like you could show up to the theater and there's a character you don't recognize from a movie. Oh, it's in a TV show. Oh, I didn't see that. So now I feel like lost.
But I feel like that's built in, to the franchise in general. Like, I think it was kind of successful on the movie front when it was just Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't playing in heavily to the movie experience. But if you were watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then you kept watching the movies, let's say you're really invested in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then you kept watching the movies, but then you felt like you weren't rewarded because it wasn't really tying back around, but they were all happening at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that there's this implicit thing with this tie-in projects that don't relate to like the original main saga. Like if you're gonna go see The Rise of Skywalker, you probably should at least have seen TFA and TLJ, right? But like the total amount of buy-in that you really need to do if you wanted to watch TROS would just be like, okay, maybe I've watched the whole saga. That's all you need to watch for Star Wars in order to like really be in. But all you really need to watch is that one trilogy. But it doesn't feel so huge, at least in my opinion, because I think the original saga is so culturally relevant still. And like it's kind of it feels like a fixture. Whereas like if I have to navigate through an animated show and a live action show and a movie back to an animated show, back to a movie, back to a live action show, even if it doesn't, I don't have to follow all those threads. I think as a viewer, it's easy to feel overwhelmed because
And like, do I really need to see this?
Right, because everybody else around you maybe has those threads, and even if the marketing is saying, "Oh, you don't need those threads," it still feels like you do.
Yeah. And I brought up Doomsday too because I feel like they are packing that movie full of superheroes to just be like, listen, it doesn't matter what you've watched and what you've not watched. And like, let's all be honest. This whole post Infinity Saga has not really been a saga. Like, there hasn't really been any through line or anything. It's just sort of like an amalgamation of things happening. But this to me feels like them just being like, you know what? Let's just throw in as many superheroes as possible. Tell people show up because it's just going to be wild. It's just going to be all the great actors together on the big screen. The X-Men coming back. Like, it's just going to be a good time at the movies. And so they're trying to almost circumvent the feeling of I have to do homework to just be like, it doesn't matter. You want to see like 25 superheroes fight Doctor Doom? That's all you need to know. Just come.
But Doctor Doom is Iron Man.
Well, how is that going to pan out?
But do you see how difficult it feels? You know,
Yeah.
even though if it's like, even if that movie ends up being like, it's just all the superheroes in the movie, they're gonna fight the big bad. But I'm going. But wasn't Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man? You know, like, and I mean,
and
that,
if
honestly,
Robert Downey
like,
Jr. wasn't Doctor Doom, I feel like this movie would have almost nothing going against it in some ways because it's just like you don't need to know anything. But now it's like, well, how does?
But also maybe nothing going for it because everybody's like, oh, we love Robert Downey Jr. Like these things are complicated, and I like I think we have this conversation to say like Star Wars can feel this way to somebody who's not into Star Wars,
right? So when you look at the Mandalorian and Grogu now, first Star Wars movie in 7 years. Think about it. Star Wars has been a TV property for 7 years. Now we're back in the theater. Oh, what's the movie? What's the new movie? Well, it's the Mandalorian and Grogu, which there have been 2 seasons of. And then there was a spin-off show where it had 2 episodes of the TV show in it, followed by a 3rd season of the TV show. And then there was also a show called Ahsoka, which also spun off of season 2 of The Mandalorian. People are like, I'm out.
right?
You know, like, I don't know, you know, the mental gymnastics you have to do, especially the Book of Boba Fett insert, feels like a lot. And when this movie, I think, candidly, is, again, a very self-contained story. We talked about this on our last episode, which was like, there aren't very many galactic stakes happening in this movie. There's nothing really monumental that transpires. It's sort of just like we're on a planet and we have to get off a planet movie. And that's about it. And there's some growth in there with Grogu, which I walked away from as kind of my favorite aspect of the film. And so I think it becomes a hard sell with all of those things of like, there's not a lot that happens in this movie. There's also just a lot of baggage that it comes into it with in terms of just how much show there has been. And how Star Wars is this TV property and now is trying to be a movie property. So how do you get the words Star Wars, when people hear those words, how do you get them to be excited about it without thinking of 7 years of TV now?
Yeah, and it's difficult. It's difficult too because we're kind of past the initial wave of Grogu love. Like Grogu was everywhere, and I mean literally everywhere between seasons 1 and 2 of Mandalorian. Like you couldn't look in any direction and not see somebody talking about Grogu, or you know, at that point Baby Yoda, or see people complaining that there are not toys for Baby Yoda yet, or wanting to do things with Baby Yoda, like wanting to own little plushies of Baby Yoda, or like be Baby Yoda, like the, you know, memes of Baby Yoda, everything, right? We're definitely past that time period too. Like that has all settled down quite a bit, and he's not any less cute than he has ever been. He is cute maxing. He is cute maxing across this movie.
Yeah.
No denial about it. And like, boy, is he cute. But,
the best part of the film, easy,
yeah, incredible. But he, like, you know, it isn't in the cultural zeitgeist in the same way, which is also like, I think a symptom of the fragmentation of media in our social spaces in the COVID era. Thanks in part to our good buddy Elon Musk for that. You know, like Twitter isn't the same anymore, right? So I think that plays a factor into it as well. And I think also the Star Wars name is difficult for people because if we recall last year with the Emmys and all of that stuff, there's no denying in the quality of this show and/or that it is just as good, if not better, of the nominees that it was nominated against, this prestige television. But it hardly won anything, especially in the upper categories, acting specifically. And it wasn't recognized in a lot of the acting categories because I think people see Star Wars and they turn it off. They don't think that that is, you know, prestige. And I think that, you know, it doesn't have to be prestige all the time. We have this conversation a lot. Not all Star Wars needs to be Andor for sure. But I think among that community and maybe a section of the public as well, they're not taking Star Wars seriously or not getting past the Star Wars label to see exactly what is in store for them, whether it be Andor or Mandalorian and Grogu or whatever, because Star Wars has a particular connotation to them, whatever it may be.
Yeah, it almost feels, when you put it that way, like do some IPs carry the same weight and influence that they once did? And I say that though because like I say some IPs, right? Because you look at things like Zootopia 2 last year, which made boatloads and boatloads and boatloads of money, like over $1 billion. It was incredible. Yeah. And then Inside Out 2, same thing.
Toy Story 5 is about to kill.
Coming out. That movie is going to make $1 billion. I'm telling you, like it's going to be insane.
I was so cynical about them making more Toy Stories, and then like they were good.
And now you got the T Swift fans showing up in droves to this film because she's doing a song. So like, there you go.
Are you a Toy Story 4 fan? I am. I think it's good.
Yeah. You and I, shameless plug here. We talked to Stephanie Folsom.
Yes.
Here on the podcast, Stephanie Folsom, the screenwriter of Toy Story 4 and a episodic writer for Star Wars Resistance. Go check it out on our podcast feed.
That was a good plug, and she's very nice, and also
she worked on Rings of Power.
Yes, it's also true. Wrote Forky, this is really important to me.
I know. Yeah.
No, and so I think that they did a good job with 4. And so it's like, okay, well, 5 makes sense. And, it's like, when has Toy Story ever let me down? And I think a lot of people can go, well, Toy Story's never let me down, and know that they can go take their kids to this Toy Story movie and have a good time.
Yeah. I mean, even people are like, 4 was kind of whatever. Even like, if you consider that the worst Toy Story movie, all 4 movies have been like best saga of films, like best, most consistent saga of films out there. Like name me any other aside from maybe like Lord of the Rings, John Wick, and the Planet of the Apes movies.
Have the new ones been good? I haven't
Planet
seen
of the Apes.
Yeah, I haven't seen the new one.
I have not seen the 4th one, but 2 and 3 are incredible.
Well, you're speaking my mid 2010s language here. I was very obsessed with the Planet of the Apes movies. Yeah. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I gotta rewatch those soon.
Incredible stuff.
But yeah, it's just like, do IPs carry that same weight? Like, does Marvel I think people have definitely hit superhero fatigue. Have people hit Star Wars fatigue? And that's my worry, is like, has Star Wars fatigue set in before we've even gotten Star Wars back into the theaters, right? Like, what is Starfighter going to do next year? That's kind of now the thing on everybody's mind is, okay, next up, Starfighter. It's in the crosshairs, but this is a fresh slate. It's a brand new story in the sequel trilogy era, and allegedly might be taking place before this next Simon Kinberg trilogy, which sounds like it could be in the sequel era as well. What are they doing with Rey? Like, there's so many questions right now. Like, what is the franchise going to be outside of The Mandalorian? And I don't think The Mandalorian can be the center of the franchise. I don't think that character can carry the weight of this 50 years of Star Wars storytelling on its back.
Yeah, and to your question, do people have Star Wars fatigue before Star Wars has really kind of made its way back into theaters? And I think that the answer is that it's not the fans and it's not the public's fault. But I think in the transition to TV, walk with me here, in the transition to TV, Star Wars had to ask a lot more of its viewers. It had to ask them to come back every week to watch these shows as they aired. And I think there's always going to be a segment of people who see Star Wars as a movie franchise and are only going to engage with Star Wars at the movies. The the section of, I still haven't gotten my parents to watch Andor. Okay. Like, it's killing me. They would love Andor. They're political thriller people, you know? But like, they see Star Wars as a movie thing. And so maybe Star Wars has diluted itself in their minds by becoming a TV thing, because TV is less prestige or less of an event than movies are. And so I think that it's maybe lost a section of the audience that would go because it was an event. And by becoming a TV thing, you're not an event anymore. It's not in this day and age. I think that, you know, like Game of Thrones, the era of cable was an event, but the era of streaming is not an event.
Yeah, and this movie, I think, was far from eventized. Aside from the couple of ads that said, like, this mission will change the galaxy. I was like, what mission changed the galaxy in this movie? Tell me.
Well, we carpet bomb the Hudson. Now there's a power vacuum. This is causing problems. This is the mission that's changing the galaxy.
Yeah. But like, when you think of the sequel trilogy, like, think of all of those trailers that aired at Star Wars Celebration and the complete uproar of fans in a good way. Like, just that room in Celebration Chicago, roll it again. Like, that was one of the most core memories of Star Wars fans. And even like the Star Wars public is like, that trailer announcement and the Rise of Skywalker, what's the final movie going to be called? Holy shit, this is an event.
So now what you're saying is that Star Wars Celebration panels should go back to being streamed.
Yes.
Yes. You're like, I didn't expect the conversation to go here, but you're right on that. It's like, I think especially for the Star Wars fandom at large, but I do agree. And I think part of that has to do with the date. Hot take of the week. I am on the record as being put Star Wars back at Christmas, because Christmas is an event and you tie Star Wars to Christmas. Therefore, Star Wars is Christmas is event. And then you're basically saying Star Wars is Jesus Christ. I kid. But there's no event right now. And I think especially for a movie like this, where they being the franchise, right, probably wanted families to go together. Like, yes, maybe families gather for the long holiday weekend, but not in the same way that families gather for Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Correct.
You know? We had a friend gathering because it wasn't Christmas and we weren't with our families, you know? But like, if this movie came out at Christmas, we wouldn't be seeing it together. You would have seen it with your whole family. I would have seen it with my whole family. And I think that's a different audience, because then again, I'm getting my parents to the movies because, okay, we wanted to go see a movie on Christmas weekend and we didn't want the horror option at that point, you know, for my family or whatever. Like, let's do something we can all enjoy together enough, you know, and I'd be like, okay, let's do Common Denominator Star Wars. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of my favorite memories growing up, was seeing Lord of the Rings at Christmas, The Hobbit at Christmas. A couple of James Bond movies with Craig came out around November. My point being, though, it's really interesting you bring up the release time of Star Wars, because I think of Starfighter next year, right? If we think of how important Star Wars Celebration has been to drumming up hype for movies in the first the first string of 5 movies that came out. Star Wars Celebration Los Angeles is in April and Starfighter comes out in May. They're going to have to do a lot more marketing long before April, right? And so now you are not using one of your biggest events. I mean, they still will use Celebration to promote Starfighter, but like, what if Celebration were in, let's say, September or August, and you show the first teaser trailer for Starfighter there? Or, you know, what are they going to show at Celebration? Are they going to show the final second trailer? Are they going to drop tickets? Like, how are they going to drum up hype for this next movie? Because I think Star Wars, like, the future of Star Wars lives and dies, I think, on Starfighter in some ways, because it is just that fresh slate. And like, can we make original Star Wars movies and get people to go see them?
I think you're right. I think that this is like a test of the waters, and like, we needed to get something that would be easy. This is established. We all know the creatives that would go into it. We all know the characters that would go into it. We had a season 4. We know where we wanted to go. So here, we're going to try this. And I'm not trying to say that making a movie is easy, because it's certainly not. There's a lot of technical elements that go into it, and a lot of money and all that, logistics, all that. A lot of talented people work on movies. But like, this is maybe easier than starting a clean slate project and bringing people back into the theater, especially if they wanted to get something out this year. But next year, yeah, is really the test. And I hope that Celebration will be the kickoff of like, foot all the way down on the gas for Starfighter. I want to be so sick of Starfighter, positive connotation, positive. I want to be so sick of Starfighter by the time I go see it, because I can't look in any other direction and not think about Starfighter. I want Star Wars to be everywhere in my brain in the month and a half leading up to that movie. So I hope that, one, panels are streamed again, please. I think it would be great, not just for all attendees who can't get into panels. I know the Star Wars Celebration team is listening to this and they're taking notes. But like, stream the panels. That was an incredible feeling in 2019 and 2017. 2017. Like, I have a trailer reaction to the TLJ trailer. It's one of my favorite Star Wars memories of my entire fandom life, is sitting in my room on my floor watching that panel.
Yep.
Like,
I was in college in my room watching that whole panel, and I wasn't even crying my eyes out for the trailer of Last Jedi.
So I think that is really, I think that's really important to uniting fans in general, is like letting fans be a part of those conversations, even if they're not in the room there. And be a part of those big moments, because so much of like Celebration now, and like, I love going to Celebration, I look forward to it every time, but so much of it now is like, I'm not in the room, I missed that trailer, everybody's talking about how cool it was, but half the attendees weren't there. So half people are buzzing, half the people are like buzzing, they're like, that was the greatest thing ever, and half the people are like, that's nice for you. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't really understand why that transition happened for Celebration, because it did used to just be, well, the value add of being at Celebration is you're at Celebration and you get to watch these trailers with other fans, and then you have a whole convention. Now it's like, no, the value, now it feels like the value add of Celebration is like, you either go and see it or you don't ever see, right? Like, they showed some of the Mandalorian and Grogu footage at Japan last year, but it never got released. Like, why couldn't they just release it online? Like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Like, I don't think anybody's going to Celebration and being like, well, I'm mad because I could have stayed home and watched it online. Like, nobody's saying that.
Yeah.
Nobody said that at Celebration Chicago. I could have just stayed home and watched the Rise of Skywalker trailer on my laptop for free. It's like, okay, cool. Well, then you didn't get to experience it with like, tens of thousands of other fans like losing their minds on the show floor when the Rise of Skywalker title got unveiled. Like, that's the fun of Celebration, is the rapturous applause and the fans yelling. That's
what we say when like Star Wars is more fun with friends. It's like being in those environments. So because I think that that's really important to like fan feeling in general, whether we were there or not, but like people who are like genuinely invested in Star Wars, and not just casual fans. But if you can get like the majority of your invested fans really in, right? Maybe by streaming a panel, getting them in on the hype train early and like keep it moving, kind of unify the message. Then that kind of can maybe bring in some of the casual people, because those hyped up people are really, really in on it. Like, I want it to be everywhere. So to me, while I've been feeling really good about myself in Star Wars, like actually like despite, I think we've discussed this a little bit, but despite not being super excited for The Mandalorian and Grogu, this May the 4th, I was feeling so good about being a Star Wars fan. I was like, wow, I'm so grateful to be a Star Wars fan. I love the people, I love so many of these amazing memories and opportunities that we've had. I love just like being a fan. It's so fun. When it's fun, it's so fun. And it's like, how can the brand work to make that feeling even stronger among the broader fandom? I was just at Joliet Star Wars Day, which is hosted by their public library in Joliet. And it's fun. They've been doing it for at least 10 years. It left, and then there was enough pushback. They were like, no, they said they were going to stop doing it. And everybody was like, no, you can't stop. They brought it back. It's very beloved, and it's super family friendly, and everybody's wearing their Star Wars shirts. And it's probably a mix of people who are really invested, like myself, and people who are really casual. Like, I just go see a Star Wars movie when there's a Star Wars movie out. It's all free and open to the public. Collectors, every sort of person is there. But how can we get all of these people in, despite their varied socioeconomic backgrounds, despite their varied levels of interest in all of Star Wars? Like, how can you get everybody in? And it's like really making it an event, really making everybody feel included, and like that this is the thing we have to all go see. I just want to feel that again.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think my biggest fear right now is, with the relative underperformance of the Mandalorian and Grogu. And again, like with the caveat that like enjoy the movie if you want, doesn't matter what it makes. I don't know what Lucasfilm and Disney consider this to be a success, right? Like it only had a $165 million budget, so it's made back its money. Do they consider coming in behind two independent horror movies to be a success? I don't know. I don't know like how they look at that stuff. But like relatively speaking, it's underperformed.
Mm-hmm.
If Starfighter also underperforms next year, my biggest worry is then going back into a period of time where now we're not making any movies again, and like we have to take like 3 to 4 years to hit the reset button on the franchise and like figure out what it wants to be. And that's my biggest worry, is like going back into that zone of nothingness, of just like there's no TV shows, there's no movies, it's just the books, and the books are great.
Well,
But
listen,
like there's
we're
no
having a
on
great time
screen.
with the
The books have always been reliable and fantastic, and I will forever stand Star Wars publishing. But my biggest fear is going into a period of time where we lack a lot of good quality on screen media.
Yeah, and I think, and maybe the thing at the core of that too is like the books are fantastic, and we are so ride or die for Star Wars publishing. But those are individual experiences. Reading is inherently an individual experience. And like you and I can read and have a discussion, but that's just you and I. And our listeners join in on that discussion, but they're doing that on their own time whenever they hit play on that. And then maybe we hear about it when we talk to a listener, like at a convention or whatever, like, oh, love this conversation. Like, amazing. Like, that's how we join in on the conversation. But when it's a movie, we're all having that experience together. You, me, the listener, my next door neighbor's mom, like everybody's having that experience. It is a cultural community sort of a thing, as opposed to just an individual thing. And I think that's what's lost when we lack the event on screen experience when it comes to Star Wars.
And I think Lucasfilm tried to do that with the High Republic, was make it feel less of a personal experience and more of a communal one, right? Like we were all sitting around reading the books when they came out, watching the High Republic show, waiting for the panels at Star Wars Celebration, the Acolyte coming to screens and people getting really jazzed about that. So I think that was a pretty cool example of like how books can feel much larger than the, hey, I read this a year after it came out and it was a great book. Like let's make it feel more like of an experience. And I hope maybe one day we get that again in book form. But yeah, I do love the books. I love that they're always there for me, even if I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of what's happening on screen. And I know you and I just got our review copies of Star Wars Legacy, which comes out in just over a month, which I'm super, super, super jazzed to dive into and talk about on the show. Yeah, sequel era, Leia, Rey, Kylo, the core of that book based on the cover. So really, really excited. And then we got Eyes Like Stars, and then we got Edge of the Abyss coming in the fall. So and a couple of Art of books, including one for The Mandalorian and Grogu, which will be, I can't wait to dive into the art of this movie. Let me tell you, I'm so excited.
I have to say that after watching this movie with the Jon Favreau commentary, which was how my second viewing experience went, I have no doubt that book is going to be incredibly interesting. Because if there's one thing Johnny Favs can yap about, and I say that complimentary, if he can yap about, it is like the craft. I know that the craft was pushed, quite hard in the making of this movie, the practical effects, the practical stuff. And I think maybe that made us, it's like, it's cool, it's awesome. And it's also very much in the tradition of Star Wars. But also I think we got a little cynical about it by the end of it. We're like, what's the story? What are we actually getting in this movie? But hearing him talk about it while I was watching the movie, was exciting because I really do recommend his director's commentary to anybody who's interested in puppeteering and puppetry as an art form. If you are interested in filmmaking and blockbuster filmmaking as like an art form and as a medium, And if you're just interested in how the sausage gets made in terms of shots and composition and all of this, I like really recommend his director's commentary, because occasionally he'll be like, all right, in this next scene, he's gonna walk back to Martin Scorsese's shop or what, his cart or whatever, and you're like, yeah, Johnny Favs, I know, I'm watching that on screen right now. But then he'll drop some really interesting nuggets, like that one scene where Mando comes back to the cart and he's in the cart and he's like hunched over because the cart is a little too small for Mando.
Love that shot.
Right, and Marty Scorsese's character, Hugo Durant, he's talking about how and I didn't catch this the first time, but Johnny Favs mentioned that he's scratching his ankle with like his very nimble toes from his other foot. You're not going to catch that unless Johnny Favs tells you. But then he's like, oh yeah, so we were trying to figure out the proportionality of Mando in this cart, and we shot it, but we just like couldn't make it work. That's a digital Mando.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I was like, that's fascinating. I felt like I was, and sometimes he would be like, oh gosh, okay, I had so much fun. I really do recommend it. It's really fun. Navigating the app that it's on is like, honest to God, a little complicated. However, once you get it, you have to hit play once the movie starts, which is annoying because you want to turn off your phone or silence your phone or whatever before the movie starts, but you have to hit play as the text is on screen in order for it to sync correctly. That's my pro tip.
Are they going to throw this on the Blu-ray, you think, for the movie?
I would hope so, because I think it's really interesting, and I think that I think fans in general should listen to it and if you love the behind the scenes stuff, like you'll get a lot out of it. Yeah, I hope so. I don't really know how this collaboration with this app is working, because the app is called Theater Ears, and it seems primarily intended for Spanish speaking people to be able to translate the movie in active time, and so you hear like a dub in your ear of the movie in Spanish, which is like really awesome, like a really great resource. But this is obviously like an English director's commentary, and I think that this might be the second time that a collaboration like this is happening on this app. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not super knowledgeable about it, but I would hope that it wouldn't be so exclusive to the app that they would not include it as a feature on a DVD release.
Okay. Yeah, well, I gotta say, I'm excited for the Blu-ray and whatever special features, because again, even though take all the commentary around the film out of it, the craft of this movie, I think is something to behold with a lot of the practical effects, and it's very clear a lot of passion went into the making of it. So I'm excited to learn more.
Yeah, and I think just kind of talking about our second experience watching this movie, if I can share a couple more nuggets, because I think they're interesting and worth sharing. I'll be honest, in the couple weeks since this movie was out, I was like, maybe I'll go see this another time. Really, the only reason why I went to go see this movie again is because we were going to have this conversation on this podcast. I probably wouldn't have gone and seen it again if I wasn't in this position. So that's where I've come to, which was where I was at for Solo. But not for Tross, because I was not talking, although we did talk on the podcast about Tross, that was before I was doing it with you all the time. But I didn't go see it a second time for the podcast. I went and saw it with Raylos. Hey, Raylos. And yeah, so it was weird, because I was like, oh, I don't really want to go again. But then this director's commentary came out, and I was like, let's do it. And I had a really fun time, because I wasn't actually thinking about my experience of the movie, like thinking about the beats or whatever. Most of my experience with the movie was just having an experience with the director's commentary. And I took 11 pages worth of notes. And now I write them really big when I'm in a dark theater. So that's like less than 11 pages worth of lines in my notebook, but probably more like 6. So like a considerable amount of pages, if you ask me.
One page is just a drawing of a slug.
No slugs. However, I did write, you know how hard it is to be your own man when your father is Jabba the Hutt.
Let's cut to the chase here. I don't think Star Wars fans are having, at least from my circles, I have not seen a lot of like very in-depth, super complex conversations with this movie happening online. A lot of it is just Rot of the Hutt memes galore. And it's just always, when you least expect it, you're getting hit with a, did you know Rada is his own man?
It's like, well, I saw one that was so good. It was like, the Return of the Jedi visual dictionary or something like that. And it's like, well, Rada's not on this page because he's not
He's
like
his
his
own
father.
I did see
You
that
wouldn't
tweet,
find
actually.
Rada on this page because he's not like his father.
It's
He's his own
giving
man.
it's giving like the 2026 version of like synthetic calcite. This is the new meme.
Yeah, no, it's great. And then the other great meme that's come out of this one, Rada the Hutt memes take precedence 100%. They're like the best memes that come out of this. Because like there's a lot of sincerity within that character. Just like the delivery and the dialogue that they wrote for Rada is so memeable. Which I guess is distinctly Star Wars. However, the second meme that's come out of it is like the cutest baby Grogu shot you've ever seen in your life. And then like, this is who you're asking to circle back. This is who you're asking to take notes during this meeting. This is who you're asking to do their taxes. You know. And
Grogu's a star. What can you say? He's
a star,
fantastic.
and we're all just little baby Grogu's in our heart. And you know, it's tough out there when health insurance and taxes exist, and you just want to be a baby Grogu eating the scorpion off of Mando's chest when he's poisoned.
Well, I don't want to eat the scorpion. I want to eat the little.
But if you're baby Grogu,
what are those things called? The macaroons, the blue macaroons. I want to eat those.
Yeah. Which also, I don't know if the size is consistent of this is what I was thinking about on my second watch. I don't know if the size is consistent on the macaroons between when they're in Grogu's hand, when they're in Mando's hand, and when they're in Rada's hand. I want everybody to take a look at this when next time they watch the movie and let me know, because I think the proportionality between Grogu's hand and Mando's hand is incorrect.
This is Sarah's version of those bombs can't fall like that in the Last Jedi.
No. It's actually because I have one of these very specific comments about the Last Jedi. So you know when I've talked about this before. You know when Rey is sitting on the rock and she's cross-legged and she's meditating, right? And she's like, right, and then she gets scared. I forget what happens exactly. That's bad TLJ fan of me. But then she ends up behind the rock that she was just sitting on top of. How did she get there? Because I think she goes from seated, cross-legged, to being on all fours, and then being behind the rock. How did that happen? I need the unedited cut of that without like whatever the force things are going on in the force. You know, the darkness in the force, whatever. Go watch it again. You'll see it. This is how I feel about the blue cookies. I'm
gonna fact check that after this immediately. It's the first thing I'm doing on my Sunday.
Thank you. Let me know what you think. I forgot what I was talking about before that.
You were talking about the macaroon size and consistency.
I was. These are the things I was thinking about. I actually did notice the IMAX aspect ratio cuts because Johnny Favs pointed it out. And once again, that post-coin mansion dogfight in the sky is thrilling. I stand by the fact that is so good and it's so much fun to watch. I had a great time watching it, and I hope Starfighter is just like that sequence specifically.
Best part of the movie, hands down, aside from Grogu's world.
Grogu's world is excellent. I will admit to the viewer that I was in desperate need of a restroom break during my first watch, and so I missed part of Grogu's world, but I assumed that we were in this nice little lull in the movie where nothing consequential was going to happen if I needed to like run to the restroom, and so I did, and that's a really bad Star Wars fan of me, but trust me, I needed to use the restroom before the end of the movie, and so I got to watch that, and so there were little fireflies, and I was like, that's so cute, and I missed it. But I got it this time. Don't worry, guys. I would like to share that Dave Filoni was the puppet unit director for this movie specifically. And Johnny Favs mentioned that, you know, Dave had spent so much time with the puppets on the show that he just felt that he would be the right fit to direct the puppets specifically. And I thought that was really interesting and cool. And he also mentioned that Peter Ramsey was the second unit director, which is obviously in the credits, but he was mentioning some of the work that Peter Ramsey did. And that they did in collaboration for this movie, which I thought was really cool. What else can I tell you? I want to mention the work of Donald Mills, because one of the things that we had talked about is that Embo is clearly a digital character, because Embo Hot Body T, I stand by it. I stand, and you were so right. I totally think that the way that his chair moves in his ship is so cool, and his ship is called the Guillotine. which I think was established in the animated stuff, but I did not know that. And so I was delighted to learn that his ship is called the Guillotine.
Happy to report we did in fact bring back the Guillotine in 2026. I love that for us.
But I was like, that is so slay of Embo to call his ship the Guillotine. But his suit double is a performer called I think Donald Mills, and he is a longtime friend or coworker of Lateef Crowder, who does Mando's stunts, and so they had a good rapport together. And I think Donald Mills also did some of the just stunt choreography in general. So to put them together for him to do the Embo suit performance, and then allow Lateef to have somebody to work directly off of when they were fighting, so that all of those hits felt really real. And he said that in that final fight with the Hutts and then Embo and Mando and Grogu, right? They just kind of lingered. If you watch it, you can really notice it. But they lingered on these longer, just single shots of Embo and Mando so that you could see how awesome that fight choreography was. And I agree. I think they did a really good job. And he's like, we just kind of wanted to let them go because they have a good rapport with one another as performers, and we're able to come up with really cool choreography together. And I was like, heck yeah.
I did like second viewing. I did appreciate that hand-to-hand combat between Mando and Embo. I think that part works fairly well. And funny enough, I saw this my second viewing with my parents, my sister, brother-in-law, and my niece. And I asked my niece, what was your favorite part of the movie? And she said, when they wrestled. And I was like, what does she mean by that? And I think she meant during that same fight with Embo and Mando when the slugs are wrestling each other on top of the door. And I was like, that's an interesting thing for her to like.
That is an interesting thing for her to like.
That was what she walked away with. I love that.
Shout out to your niece. She's precious. God bless her. Speaking of the wrestling, Johnny Favs said that the way that the Hutts moved, they had to do a lot of like nature studies and animal studies to figure out how these slugs would move. And so they looked at elephant seals and walruses and also pro wrestling.
Oh my God.
Because you had to get Rada being super big and buff, and how is he going to wrestle, and how is he going to fight with his big body, which I thought was funny. But also that the Hutt Palace, they studied mushrooms or spores, and then also sourdough. And Johnny Favs encouraged the listener to go look up like sourdough spider webs on Google, which I thought was funny. But yeah, there was just so much to be learned. And I also want to highlight JJ Dashaw, and I think I'm getting his last name right. I'm not 100% sure, but I tried to get as many names and things down as I could. He's also a Mando double, and I believe one of the stunt choreographers. And so he's doubling Mando a lot in the water scenes after Pedro is face. He has his face exposed as Mando. And I thought that was really cool too, to get another name into the mix of who is in the Mando suit. And if you're really curious about the nuggets of that, there's a handful of times when Johnny Favs is like, yeah, so that's Brendan walking down the hallway. And it's Lateef now, and it's cool because you feel the cohesiveness of the Mando performance when you watch the movie. I think like the movement all feels very cohesive across all performers who play Mando. But it was cool to see like, oh yeah, so we're switching from Brendan to Lateef here and then back to Brendan here, but this is Lateef. And then here's Pedro, on top of it all. So yeah, I thought that this track like really enhanced kind of the craft of the movie, which was just a good time for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm super excited, hopefully, to be able to listen to that when Mando and Grogu comes home on DVD, Blu-ray. I don't think I'll see this movie a third time. Saw it the second time. I feel pretty content with that. Oddly enough, my second viewing, I kind of wish I had done what you done with the director's commentary. My second viewing kind of felt more like running through the motions as opposed to me really being engaged with the film.
Mm-hmm.
But the Grogu's World sequence I still like. Apparently my dad was getting a little emotional during that part when Grogu's trying to heal him with the black paste.
It's so
and I was
sweet.
like, my dad has zero connection to Star Wars, and the fact that he was feeling something about that scene, I was like, oh. I was like, okay, I guess like this movie is really for the dads, you know?
Yeah. It's a very sweet sequence, and I think it's very hard to not be charmed by that sequence in particular. And I think that your dad was catching on to the right mood of the moment too, within that movie.
Certainly. But yeah, no, I thank you for bringing some of those insights from Johnny Favs. I think everybody should check out any director commentary that's available for Star Wars movies. I think every one of them are great. I'm really fond of the Revenge of the Sith one, which I believe features Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor.
I don't know if I've ever listened to it.
Yeah, I think it's on Disney Plus. I think you can listen to it on there.
Adding that to the watch list.
But yeah, I guess Sarah, do we have anything else to say on the movie today?
You know, I think that the our first watch of this film was really enhanced by the fact that we were together as friends and we were together with our friends as well. And we're just able to have a really silly time with it. I still giggled at the Dave Filoni cameo and at the Rot of the Hutt stuff, you know, and so I still had a good time. But there's nothing like seeing this movie, especially a movie that we're not super high on, with friends and like being all together. So I really felt that improved my experience of the movie, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to do that. But I think at the end of the day, this movie it's not mine. I had a good time with it, but it's not the one that I will hold close to my heart for a long time, and that's okay too. I think that's kind of where I'm left with it.
Yeah, I think that's ultimately where I'm ending up. I think some really fun positives to take away from the movie. I think at the end of the day, I kind of walk away from the Mando and Grogu experience just wanting more for this franchise. And we hopefully didn't sound like we were being super critical or negative the entire episode. And I think it's just really an interesting time in Hollywood right now. And I think, again, recently with these two small indie films kind of dominating the conversation against a big IP film, it just makes me long for the days where Star Wars felt bigger and felt like, hey, people are really going back for Star Wars weekend after weekend. And I don't quite feel that here. But I think Starfighter is going to be that opportunity to really, my hope is Starfighter will be that opportunity, especially with Star Wars 50 going in its favor, to say it's the 50th anniversary of Star Wars. We got a movie coming out in May. Let's crush it. You got some big stars in the movie, carrying that as well. And, hopefully that movie performs very well. And then we get a bright, sunny future of many more Star Wars movies to come. Because at the end of the day, like, regardless of quality of movie, I just want to be in the theater seeing Star Wars. That's where I'm at my happiest. TV is great. I don't think anything's ever gonna top Andor. So I would be content. I would be content with just continuing to be a movie franchise at this point, and just getting some pretty cool movie events happening in our lifetime.
Yeah, I do hope that we just get a lot more Star Wars to come, and that it delights us and interests us in various ways. And Star Wars in the movies, more Andor, whatever they want. Last Jedi again.
Speaking of movie events,
yes.
Did you get your Odyssey tickets?
No.
Good luck.
Yeah, I've just accepted my loss on that one.
I did get, my wife got 70mm tickets. IMAX 70mm. We're going.
Well, that'll be fun. Okay, I just looked it up, and the tickets are on sale. Check seats. I check seats. It's probably going to be a whole lot of nothing. It's a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, you're cooked, fam.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not worried about it. We got other days we can check our seats for. That's
you got to experience. I think if you're going to have you're going to lose your 70mm IMAX card, like this is the movie to do it for.
The tickets are pretty dire. I'm looking now, but okay. Monday's looking good. Monday at 7:30 in the morning. What do we think?
Do it. I think you should do it.
I would get out in time to have a full work day. Maybe kind of late. Maybe I'd take an hour off.
Fuck it. Do it.
Anyway.
Well, Sarah, I hope you get some Odyssey tickets. I want that for you. Well, with all that being said, I think for the most part, Sarah, this probably brings our conversations on The Mandalorian and Grogu to a close. Possible we may revisit some aspects of this film in future episodes, depending on, again, like what the future of the Star Wars franchise shapes out to be. But I think really for the next couple of months here, we are really pivoting back into some upcoming book releases, which I'm really excited to talk about on the show. Hopefully we'll have some author interviews as well to couple those discussions. And it's a good year for Star Wars books, I will say. We have our eyes set on Legacy right now. And
That's right.
I will say I'm excited to dive back into the sequel trilogy era.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot to look forward to in the world of Star Wars books and beyond. So we'll be back and we'll find ways to bring up Mando and Grogu again. I have no doubt. I think we have one cooking maybe for Patreon.
True.
Patreon folks, keep your eyes out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hopeful I continue to be hopeful about Star Wars to come, and I'm grateful for all the Star Wars so far. So hope you'll join us in a future conversation.
In the meantime, you can find us on all of our socials: Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. Subscribe to our podcast feed wherever you're listening to get our newest episodes, and leave a review if you enjoyed the episode, and let us know in the comments of this what you thought of The Mandalorian and Grogu, kind of what your thoughts are on movies in general. If you have anything you're looking forward to, let us know. It's a good summer to be a movie fan.
It is. There's lots coming out. So thanks again to our patrons who help make the show happen. We are very, very grateful for you. Thanks to Andy, Brian, Cheryl, Clay, Deborah, Emma, Ian, Jennifer, Josephine, Jules, Katie, Knights of Ryan, Krista, Logan, Lindsay, Matthew, Mark, Rob, Ruth, Santa, Skytalker, Soulcatcher, Tom, Travis, Viglyph, and our newest patron, Chris. We are very appreciative of your support. Help keep the lights on. Help make sure that we can get to our second show on A Mandalorian and Grogu. No, seriously, thank you so much for joining us in all of our Mandalorian and Grogu conversations, all of our Star Wars conversations. I hope that everybody is staying cool this summer because it is already in the Midwest hot and humid and I am dying. It's all good. Hope to see you in the next one.
Absolutely. Thank you all once again, and until next time, may the force be with you always.
Bye.